Never in my life had I seen everything they showed me that day. Broken bodies burned, these bags they just found in such and such a grave, in such and such a place. So everything was new to me, everything. I didn't know they took bodies out of graves. I didn't know everything the searching mothers did. I didn't know any of it. But then there was a moment when my emotions collapsed. Definitely, I couldn't get up. For me, it was very painful to be looking for Charlie in pieces of human flesh. No, I got really bad. I got very depressed. I wouldn't get up. I wouldn't shower. I wouldn't eat. I didn't want to let go of the phone at all. I felt like I was wasting time if I put the phone down, and I always had the phone in my hand. And even though I never imagined it would happen to me even once, I never expected it to happen to me again. There are two.
The search for missing persons is a complex and very dangerous task that thousands of families have to face due to the lack of answers from the authorities. It's a struggle for searching mothers and families to reach the truth, to have justice, and to see their loved ones return. With hope, determination, and photographs, they search the streets for their children. And one of them is Mrs. Febe, who was forced to become a searching mother when armed men took her children. Carlos in 2019 and Jonathan in 2023. And after that, haven't you had any information about where they might be?
My name is Febe, and I am the mother of Juan Carlos Delgado Gonzalez. Juan Carlos is a very hardworking, charismatic person. He has a degree in computer science in high school completed. He has a very strong passion, which is rap and hip hop. She used to record videos of the kids from rap. She wrote songs and had a formal job. She really liked dogs, especially big dogs, fighting dogs. She had a lot of charisma with them and understood them very well. Father of 5 children, 1 girl with his first wife and 4 children with his second partner. That having a lot of children led him to look for a better salary, to look for another new opportunity, to be able to cover his expenses, a better quality of life for his family. He used to visit me very often. He dedicated a lot of his free time to rap, to recording albums. He had 4 albums recorded with songs. He composed. But Juan Carlos was always very careful to make sure we knew where he was. If he didn't have credit on his cell phone, for example, or something, he would always find a way to communicate. He would always find a way to get in touch. He would even go to internet cafes to send a message through Messenger to let us know he was okay. So whenever he took those days to be at the studio, he would let us know. And if we saw that 2 or 3 days had passed, sometimes we would see him online or we would see his last connection time. And so we already knew in some way that he was okay, very loving, a really, really good son. He always had, as he used to say, the flow, and he always arrived dancing, rapping, composing. And I miss him because all those things he did, he would always come and give me kisses on the cheek. He would slobber all over my face due to his affectionate kisses. We lived in a peaceful way, each in our own space. Him with his family, with his children, always looking after the oldest daughter he had with his wife. And he worked at a multiple banking institution. But like I said, he needed a bit more income, so he was always looking for a better job. He often said he would find his dream job. He was enrolled at the University of Guadalajara to continue studying. In fact, I used to tell him that no, as a mother, I wasn't satisfied with him just having finished high school and the technical degree he had. I supported him so he would keep studying and to be able to have a better future, since it was part of his concern, his desire to be able to earn more. so he could cover his expenses. At that time, well, that's when what we call the peak started, when mothers began looking for their children. I saw the ladies on television, I saw them at the marches with photos of their children on their blouses, with banners, with signs, but all of that went over my head. I mean, I never imagined being in their place. I never imagined myself knocking on the doors of the authorities, because I never thought it would happen to me. It was kind of like, not apathy, but I just didn't think it would happen to me, because it wasn't something I or my family dealt with in our daily lives, even less so. On May 1st, 2019, he showed up at the house. First, he sent me a message and asked if I was home. I said yes, and he asked, can I come have breakfast with you? If you can come have breakfast with me, come have breakfast, he said. Also, I want to tell you something. And then he arrived. Around 9:30 in the morning, we had breakfast together. And the kisses full of slobber, as always, and I would complain and wipe my face because he would leave a lot on me like that. And that's it. While we were having breakfast, he started telling me that he had found the job of his dreams, that he had an interview, that he was gathering the paperwork because they were about to interview him. He didn't disclose his salary, the nature of the job, or any other details to me. He just said it was a job that could help him and his family get ahead because it was a very well-paid job. And no, it didn't occur to me to say be careful or anything, because I had no idea that they had been recruiting young people like that. Not at all. I was simply happy. I was glad that he had finally found something, and he told me that he was practically in, that the only thing he needed was to gather the paperwork and be able to go to the interview. So he asked me for a proof of address. Because his INE had the address from the house. And he told me, so that everything matches, lend me a proof of address. That's the only thing I'm missing. And in the backpack, I put an electricity bill from the house bills in it. He says goodbye to me. He gives me my kisses full of slobber and leaves. And he told me, the last thing he said to me, for that, I had told him that the house he was living in, I was lending it to him. And I told him, remember we agreed that I'm lending you the house, but you pay for the water. And he told me, this year the water will change. You'll see that we'll be able to pay for the water. What's still pending? Since we were discussing how it was May and the outstanding balance from the previous months hadn't been paid. Months of the year change our lives.
Before their son disappeared, they were a very peaceful family. Their son Carlos was a loving and dreamy person, and even though it was very difficult to make a living from music, he always looked for a way to support his family. That's why, wanting to improve his financial stability, he agreed to go to a job interview that no one knew what it was about, and without knowing that his family's life would change, but in the way he least expected.
That happened on a Wednesday, then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday went by. His partner called my other daughter-in-law, the wife of another one of my sons, on the phone. And she asked her if she could take care of the kids because she had things to do. So my daughter-in-law asked me if I could watch them. And I told her, well, it's up to you. You're the one who's going to take care of them. But she didn't go or show up with the kids on Saturday. So on Sunday afternoon, Carlos's partner arrived and asked about my other daughter-in-law, and they went into the yard. And when they came back, they both came back crying. I didn't know why they were crying, not at all, but Laura didn't say anything to me. The one who told me was the other one. She told me that I was going to take care of the kids yesterday. She's looking for Carlos. What do you mean she's not looking? She's searching for Carlos because... Did they take Carlos? So when she said they took Carlos, my first reaction was he'll show up later. And they took him because I had heard about people being taken. I had some neighbors who had already gone through the classic abduction, but they would show up either alive, beaten up, or if they were being mourned, obviously they had been found dead. So my reaction was that they'll show up later, so I calmed down a bit. I didn't panic. I was a little surprised by the fact that he had been abducted because I didn't know if he had gotten involved in something or anything like that. We used to talk a lot, he and I. He always told me about his projects, about music, about how he was going to record another album, about how he was going to set up a new studio. Because besides what he also did, he tattooed, he composed. So I always talked with him, but he had never told me about anything else or that he was in trouble or that someone had offered him something, nothing like that, until he told me he had that job. So when she told me that, I said, well, he'll show up later, right? But later during the afternoon, she started to take action. The two women started to take action and get photos. And we didn't need to go ask somewhere with I don't know who, because honestly, I don't remember the names of the people they mentioned. They told me to go that way. So when I saw them, they were kind of going in and out. I already talked to his partner and I said, come here, tell me, how is he? I mean, because he came here on Wednesday to ask for an electricity bill because he said he had a job interview. Yes, he had a job interview that they had scheduled for him to go to. He was nearly in before the interview. I asked him what happened. He says, I don't know. Carlos had a friend named Trailer, and that friend was also into rap and hip hop. And he told him, I'm going on a trip, dude, but I'll see you when I get back. So that guy went on the trip. And on Thursday, when he came back, that's when he started calling her. He started calling her, and she wouldn't answer. Carlos's partner told me that she wouldn't answer him, and he asked her, oh, why aren't you answering me? Based on the messages he sent her a month later. Why aren't you answering me? I'm calling you and you're not answering. I'm here already, right? So that was on Thursday. On Friday, this guy starts calling her partner. And she wouldn't answer thinking that, well, that she wasn't home and that she was at the studio or somewhere else. And that's why she didn't answer her. Until Saturday, when she finally called the other one, it was because she already knew that he had been taken. And the friend took her to Forensic Sciences to look for him because he said, why aren't you answering me? It's just that I thought it was Carlos. What do you mean you thought it was Carlos if he wasn't answering you? Carlos, he was known for not answering if he ran out of credit. Give me your phone so I can call my partner. And that's why she didn't answer him, because she thought it was him borrowing his friend's phone and not answering him. So then he told her, it's me who's calling you. They told me that Carlos was taken. What do you mean he was taken? What do you mean he was taken? Yes, they took him over there by the train tracks, very close to his work. That he was there in the green area. And then he said, well, let's go look for him. For that, they told him exactly how he had been taken. A man who sold bread nearby was the one who realized that they had taken him. They forced him into the truck and put the hood over his head. They put a black bag over his head and took him away. So the trucks had characteristics like those of the prosecutor's office. Were the trucks that took him the kind that people know as official vehicles of that type? So the man from PAN told that to his friend and they started looking for him. He said, obviously the bad guys took him. Let's go to Forensic Sciences to look. When she came on Sunday to tell me, I didn't know she had gone to CEME because she hadn't said anything. They didn't want to tell me anything, much less until they were sure or something. But no, she wasn't there. I knew it. And the whole afternoon of Sunday, May 5th, went by. Look, 5 days had already passed. The whole afternoon went by and I went to sleep. And she brought me some photos and told me she was going to go with a man who read cards or saw things, and that she was going to go with him because they already had evidence that this man really could locate people through what he did. So, well, since that's not my thing, I told her, no, not me. I don't want to find him. I don't want to look for him. No, not me. I really don't do that, you know? And I told her, no, well, here I leave you these 2 photos in case you want to go look for him. You leave. And she left, she went away.
Mrs. Faber thought it was a mistake that he was missing. When she heard that some trucks similar to those of the prosecutor's office had detained him, the first thing she thought was, why would they have detained him? Determined not to sit idly by, she went to the prosecutor's office the next day, very distressed to look for him. But she never could have imagined the path of uncertainty she would go through afterward. Well, it's already morning.
And in the news that day, a story appeared on television saying that they had found a safe house and that there were 9 people who had been rescued. When I listened closely, hoping they might say my son's name, but they didn't mention anyone's name. I mean, no one's. In that safe house, they had rescued a young man who, on Friday, in order to take him, they had killed his little girl. She wouldn't let go of him, so they took her away and killed her. And the young man was rescued. On Monday, he was rescued in that safe house. Well, then I went for it. To 14th Street. 14th Street is where the state prosecutor's office is located. And well, I got there and nobody paid attention to me. I arrived and they took my information and asked for my identification. They even took pictures of me. They acted with great confidence. And then I started asking questions like, hey, what about the kids they rescued from the safe house? Why am I here to look for my... Did they see me? I asked them, and they didn't even answer me. So it was already around 3:34 in the afternoon when an officer came up to me and asked, have they helped you yet? And I told him, well, I'm asking. Everywhere I go to ask, nobody gives me an answer. What do you need? And then I told him, I want to know if among those rescued from the safe house, my son was taken on the 1st and he appears in the safe house. I want to know if he's there. And then he asked me his name. I told him. He took me over to an office. They typed on the computer to look for the names of those who were there. And he told me, no, when they took your son, because for me, the word disappeared didn't make sense to me. When they took your son, I told him, well, according to his friend, they told him that Wednesday was the last day he was with me. He told me to go to the missing persons department because they wouldn't help me there. I asked him where the missing persons department was. Because I didn't know there was a missing persons prosecutor's office. I didn't know I had to file a report. I didn't know anything. Because it wasn't something that was part of my daily life. I was honestly clueless about all of that. And another thing is that I know very little about taking buses. I mean, I can't really tell you which route or anything like that. I asked him, can you tell me where I'm going? How do I get there? How do I go? And then he told me, here, then at the corner, the bus leaves, get on that bus number, whatever, and it will drop you off right at the corner of the prosecutor's office. So then, well, I got on, it dropped me off right at the corner. It was really fast. I think that after 4 in the afternoon, I was already at the prosecutor's office. I arrived and I asked the person at the entrance because there is also, security. And the protocols they follow, like they don't let you in or anything like that. I arrived and asked the person at the entrance, well, how can I help you? I told him I want to know if among the people they rescued from the safe house is my son. He didn't ask me the name. He didn't say anything to me. Nothing. From when they picked him up, he tells me, no, he's not here. Go to the CMF. When he said CMF, I felt like the blood drained from my feet, taking away my hope for life, more than anything. I don't know how to take the buses. That day I went out, got on the macrobus, and they told me to take this specific one, and that was it. Everything was so fast that I got to the institute in less than half an hour. And I arrived thinking that it was there. The way the police officer told me, I arrived thinking it was there. And I told the lady who attended me, and they took my information and everything. Now, that's when I realized that her partner had already gone to look for him there because I just completed some details about distinguishing features that she hadn't mentioned. So then I mentioned them, and then they took me to a room where they started showing me photos on a computer They told me they were going to show me from the day he disappeared or was taken, and then they started showing me photos. Never, never in my life had I seen everything they showed me that day. Dismembered bodies, burned bags. They told me, we can't show you these yet because they haven't processed these bags they just found in a certain grave in a certain place. So everything was new to me. Everything. I didn't know that they took bodies out of graves. Everything that the searching mothers did, I didn't know about it. I didn't know that they found them dismembered. I didn't know that they found them mutilated or that their tattoos were ripped off. Is it any of these here? No, it's none of them. Then the lady who helped me told me, you can come every day if you want, at whatever time you want. We work 24 hours, whenever you want. We show you what is coming in or what is going out. And so I told everyone, yes, I'll come. That's how my journey began. It's so painful for me to remember that path, that there came a moment on a median when I just broke down and cried from the pain, from the helplessness that I knew I felt. Searching for him like that in that place. Because since the police officer told me to go to the morgue, that was the only thing I knew to do, to go to the morgue. And it was the only place I went, the morgue. And about a week or two had passed. When I once told the girl who taught me, a news article had come out, an article where you could see the photos that were shown. They found a mass grave in Tlajomulco, which is very repetitive. Tlajomulco. And she told me, we'll show you what was just uncovered from the mass grave in Tlajomulco. I told her I had already seen the news and photos. So I told her, can you please show me the body that's in the blue drum? They ask about the blue drum, and I confirm it. In the photos of the grave, there's a blue drum, and you can see a little leg. And she tells me, oh, no, ma'am, that's not a body. That drum contains only little legs and feet. That's when I realized that they cut us into pieces. The bags thrown at them contained severed body parts: feet, heads, arms, legs, and torsos. So I asked them, so everything you've shown me, are you going to put it all together? He said yes, because they showed them to me as if it were a puzzle. And that's when I realized it wasn't bag body, it was that they mixed them all together. She even made the comment herself. She said, they make it really hard for us because it's not like you said bag body, it's bag feet, bag arms. And we have to put them together. So then I left from there, and every time I left, I felt like I was floating, asking myself, where are you? Why not get up? Until one day I arrived right there at CEMEF, and I said to the young lady who helped me, I said, when are you going to give it to me? When am I going to give it to you? To whom? Well, to Charlie. You keep making me go back and forth, and you never get it done for me. I told him, I've seen that when they pick them up, almost right after they kill them, they're already holding the wake for them. And he told me, no, Mom, it's just that Charlie hasn't come out yet. Charlie hasn't arrived here. We haven't received him. I mentioned they picked them up and killed them very quickly. I said, I need to go to the prosecutor's office for the disappeared to file a report. Have you filed one yet? I told him, I have to file a report. Because Charlie is missing. That's when my perspective changed. Charlie was no longer someone who had been taken. Now Charlie was a missing person. I remembered the women, I remembered the television, the marches. I already told you. Guide me, what should I do? I need you to go and to file your missing person report. He told me what to bring. Fortunately, I had the 2 photos that Laura had given me. The 2 photos she had given me so I could start looking for him. because he told me I had to bring photos, that I had to bring as much information as possible, that I should be prepared with the phone number, social media accounts. The lady guided me well, and I called. It was Saturday, and I told my daughter that when she got off work, she should pick me up at the traffic light so we could go report her missing. And we arrived around 3 in the afternoon at the missing persons prosecutor's office. I'm telling you that it had already been almost 28 days since she disappeared.
This is the reality that people live in Mexico, more specifically in the state of Jalisco, which ranks first in missing persons. And the number of reports of forced recruitment has led the searching mothers to the conclusion that this is how organized crime operates. By taking advantage of the vulnerability of young people in their search to get ahead, without realizing they are being deceived, only to later disappear them or, in other cases, end up as Mrs. Febe tells it. It's very sad to think that a loved one could end up this way. No one is prepared to face such a complicated situation.
About 28 days had already passed, and I didn't know I had to file a report. So I asked him what that was for. And he explained it to me. First of all, so they can start looking for him. Second, so they can give you an order and do a DNA test. That DNA will be compared with everything that's here. And when he said with everything that's here, all the heads I had seen came back to my mind, all the severed bodies, burned, even skeletons that were there also, so many, so many. And so we went to file the report. I already had what she had asked me for, all the information I could get, the photos, and then we left. They helped us almost right away, let's say around 3 in the afternoon, and from there they started to assist us. They took us from one desk to another, asking us questions. They kept asking the same questions, and I would answer them. What he did for a living, his age, his height, everything. But then one of them comes over from one of the desks, looks at me and says, "You knew very well what your son was involved in, didn't you?" I said, "Well, why do you say that?" Because all the mothers come here and cry, but they know exactly where their sons are and who they're with. I told him I had no idea what he was talking about. I'm here to tell you the truth and why he was taken, and I want you to please help me find him. If you would just tell us the truth, it would make our job easier. I told him, well, I'm telling you the truth. At that point, I didn't know that something was happening to me. I was being re-victimized when we were already done filing the report with all requested information already for that. One of them mentioned that they had already tracked his name and that he did appear as an employee of a multiple banking institution. They already knew that I had a channel where I made videos, that I had a page and everything. It was around 2 in the morning when they let us go. And at that time when they let us go, I already had the order for the DNA test, but I had to show up on Monday. We had to take one of her daughters to have the DNA tests done. And mine too, so they could compare them supposedly. So, well, we left from there. Sunday was already like a relief. Because he said that they were going to call me, that they were going to call me, that they were going to look for him, and that they would call me when they found him to let me know. So that was on Sunday. Then it was another day, Monday. I went to take the DNA tests with one of his girls. I had asked her mother to let me take her. We already went to CMEFO to have the DNA test taken. That same day, there was a protest outside with searching mothers. I didn't know they were called searching mothers. He was there. The human rights president was presenting his government report when the ladies interrupted him. I stayed with them briefly, but was at a loss for words. I observed them noticing their t-shirts and taking everything in. But I just went to the DNA test and then I left. It was already Monday, but from then on I stayed there, waiting for the prosecutor's office to call me and tell me they were going to find him. And that they were going to find him. I kept going back. But then there was a moment when my emotions collapsed. Definitely, I couldn't get up. For me, it was very painful to be looking for Charlie among pieces of human flesh. No, I mean, I felt terrible. I got really depressed. I wouldn't get up. I wouldn't shower. I wouldn't eat. I didn't want to let go of the phone at all. I felt like I was wasting time if I stepped away from it, and I was always holding the phone in my hand. Sometimes, maybe once or twice a week at most, I would get up and go to look for it. Then I would come back and I'd take a quick shower and go back to bed. It knocked me down completely. That would knock me out totally. I wasn't eating. I lost a lot of weight. My daughter started to want to worry about me, but I wouldn't allow them to. I wouldn't allow them to ask anyone anything about me. I felt like it was something very personal, and I wouldn't let anyone ask me anything. I didn't go out on the street. I felt like people were pointing at me because after what the police told me when I filed the report, I felt singled out. So that's how May and June went by. In May, around May, throughout the whole month, and then in June, that I had already filed the complaint. I could get up, but I didn't want to. I just wanted to stay. I was thinking about him. I remembered a lot when I was little. I remembered those kisses full of drool. I miss them so much. I miss knowing about him so much. And the questions, why? What happened? Her little boy was so small, just born, the youngest of the ones she left behind. It hurt me a lot to see her family. It hurt me a lot to see her little girls, her little boy, her partner around there, like in August, more or less. I saw a post on Facebook. I didn't go on social media much. I felt like I was wasting time, so I didn't go on. So one day I went on Facebook and I saw a missing persons flyer of someone. I don't remember who it was, but I saw it. And I got in touch with the group and I said, oh, well, I was too scared to upload it. I didn't put it on my WhatsApp status because I was scared. And when that file was already there, I talked to them, I got in touch with them, and I told them if they could make a post about my son. They asked me for photos and information, and I sent them to them. Also, that's when his friends realized. His co-workers, his high school friends, the guys who he used to hang out with. A lot of people who followed him noticed because it was public and it was on the bus. I was already really surprised to see how many times they shared his post looking for him. People showed a lot of solidarity in that sense through social media and personally. I was scared. I didn't want to say anything. At home, my husband's family would ask me questions that really hurt me. Is it true that they've already found him? Is it true that you found him in some bags? Is it true that he didn't have a head? Tell us. Their morbid curiosity, even from the same family, hurt me a lot. So I distanced myself. I distanced myself from my husband's family. I don't have any family here. I distanced myself from what was my husband's family. I didn't want anyone to ask me anything when I saw the post. The day of the missing was approaching and they announced it on the page where I had already uploaded it. I already got in touch. What do I need? What do I need to attend the mass? Well, bring a t-shirt with your son's photo or bring photos. Was he going to be buried at that time? So I had seen a place near the house where they made t-shirts and I went. I went with the boy and I told him, I need a t-shirt. I need a t-shirt with my son's photo because he is missing. And they stared at me. His mom was there. His mom ran a food business. And when I went to pick up the shirt, people already knew. People already knew that Charlie was missing, and the comments really hurt me. The lady made sure that before they gave me my shirt with my son's name, she would tell her customers about it. You're still morbidly curious, though, right? Like pretending to show solidarity by sharing the flyers or something like that? When I picked up the shirts, people were pointing at me. I would walk by and hear people making comments. They picked him up for a reason, just like at the prosecutor's office, they picked him up for a reason. If only people knew how much it hurts, how much all of that hurts, how people point at you with their comments, how they re-victimize you. For God's sake, I don't wish anyone to be in my shoes, no one. I never thought it would happen to me that one of my children would be missing. When I went to the mass for the missing, that's when I met the women from the group, but it was just that one time. I joined the march. I felt like I was screaming with so much pain. I heard them scream and I screamed too, but I felt liberated. But it was just that day, nothing more. The next day I woke up feeling down again. It was like reliving this pain. I mean, instead of feeling good the following days that were left, no. Seeing so many people, because the march was so long, seeing so many people with photos of their children, I never imagined there were so many missing people. And I would turn around because I was right at the front. I went right to the front, but I would turn around and see the line. The march was blocks of people walking with photos of their children. It was unbelievable that there were so many, right? So many. About a month later, I saw them one day at CMEF. They were at a protest that I started. Seeing them, there was like a springboard for me. I said I was leaving. My husband asked where I was going. I'm going to take a shower. What do you mean you're going to take a shower if you don't shower? I won't shower as I'm going with them. Why? Well, when I was out there, I left. Aside from the protest day when we separated, I hadn't seen them. I just want to be with them. I left, arrived, and it was already gone. There was press. The girls were being interviewed. They were shouting out there. There were banners with slogans. There were banners with the requests they were making. And that's where I saw what it said. We need anthropologists, geneticists, answers from the bodies that are in there, because there were a lot of bodies left behind. I didn't know any of that. I knew there were a lot, but I didn't know there were so many, enough for a protest or a sit-in. And so I started getting involved with them, and no one was looking at me. They were busy with their protest. And I was thinking, well, I also have a missing loved one, but I couldn't speak. I didn't want to be on television. I was afraid because already during the searches, while I was there at the morgue, I would hear stories like they threatened him, they threatened the family. They told me to take down the flyers. They said to withdraw the report because if not, the same thing would happen to them too. I was terrified it would happen to me as well. Maybe something, or to my family. And well, that's how I'm telling you, the months started to go by. And then they turned into years. During that time, I went to many places. I went to all the forensic offices in the state of Jalisco. I spent years looking for them, checking photo by photo, because I also found out that they were taken to other places, not just here in Jalisco. I went to Michoacán, to Guanajuato, to Querétaro, to Zacatecas. I went to Coahuila, to Nuevo León, to Chihuahua, to check the CEMEFOs. They took care of me and everything. As some asked me for a contribution, but when they found out I was from out of town, well, yes, they did show me what they had. I didn't find anything in Saltillo, Coahuila. It seemed like I had found him because the guy looked exactly like him. In such and such place, in such and such plaza, there was a guy who looked exactly the same. And I left me there. I visited Monterrey. Luckily, I have relatives in Monterrey, Saltillo, and Zacatecas. And well, I would go wherever possible to look for him without stopping searching here, right here in the States. I started going to the graves, and now it was already searching mother. It's really hard to learn a trade or to say what you do. I'm a searching mother because I never imagined this would happen to me. I started to go to the graves. I started to see how they took them out, how they found them when they were complete. When I was in Enosamenta, I started to see that they were people from a long time ago when I was already in Enosamenta. I mean, I learned I had to see the bags. I had to see them without bags, just the bodies, mutilated, burned. I thought I was strong, but all of that brings us down. I said, yes, I'm going, let's go. The prosecutor would inform us whenever we were invited to visit graves at specific locations where they were working. We would just go, we would leave really early. No matter if we had breakfast, eaten, if we brought food, if we needed water, we would just go. By the time I had joined the group with the girls, with the ladies, we would go to all those places. At that time, a boy passed by who was in something from Gracia and San Luis Potosi, and they said it was Charlie. He went viral, that boy went viral, and everyone was sending messages. I don't know how they contacted me and knew I was the mother. As far as I knew, no, but everyone knew. A lot of people who knew I was his mother sent me the photo, and it's Charlie, and it's Charlie, and it's Charlie. Yes, it was Charlie, but not mine. And the tattoos were on the right arm, but they weren't Charlie's. Exactly the same, just the same. It seemed like we had found him, but he wasn't homeless in San Luis Potosi. I didn't post anything else. I made a post and thanked them for having hope that it was my son. We kept searching. So at that time, my family also started to fall apart. My daughters drifted away. My husband didn't want anything to do with it. He never went anywhere with me, not to the traffic light, not to a protest, much less to a mass. I felt alone. They left me alone. My only family now was my companions, the searching mothers. I felt like I could sing the same song 20 times and nobody would say anything to me. They would listen to me at home, but I couldn't cry. They'd say, are you going to start again? Or there you go again. I mean, you can't say anything. Stop looking for him already. By now, I believe they've killed him already. So why are you still searching for him? But as mothers, we never stop searching and we never lose hope of finding them. The possibility of finding him alive was already very remote. So I said, well, I need to find him, even if it's in a grave, dead in the morgue, to give him a dignified place to rest, to be able to have a place to mourn him, or not mourn him, but at least to rest and close a chapter. Now we know about Charlie and where he is. My other son said, don't look for him anymore. It's over. So a lot of time has already passed. Until my heart stops beating, I will keep looking for him. That's how it is. And like I told you, so many things happened and searches in so many places. And even though I never imagined it would happen to me once, much less that it would happen to me again. There are two.
The search for her son Carlos became her main priority, putting her life aside and starting a search on her own. She knew it wasn't going to be easy, but Mrs. Febe was clear that she couldn't give up, and that somewhere there had to be an answer. They were very difficult months, during which her health was affected by anguish and despair. She felt very lonely, and little by little she saw how her family was falling apart. And one day, unexpectedly, she was not only suffering for one child, but now the story repeated itself.
March 29th, 2023. My son let me know he was working there at the house. Jonathan was 29 years old. He let me know that he was going to pick up his kids. He worked there at the house since the pandemic because he lost his job. He made speaker boxes for cars so he could earn money for his expenses and his children's expenses. His wife worked 2 days a week, Wednesdays and Fridays, and then they would go to sleep to take care of the children. He was responsible for meals, homework, baths, and taking the children to and from school. Since he had the opportunity to be at home, that's what he did. I'm going to tell you something. He had them there. He didn't know his child. I wasn't sure if they were vaccinated, mum-fed, or had finished their homework. They took care of their children. One day, Jonathan comes out and tells me, I'm going to pick up the kids from school. The youngest, age 4, was to be picked up from kindergarten. The other was 6 at the time. He was in elementary school and the girl was 9. I would pick up the boy from kindergarten first, and then I would pick up the ones from elementary school. Not even half an hour had passed. Suddenly, I heard a knock at the door. And I heard the children's screams. But these were different screams. Sometimes they would come crying, and I would go out to see what happened. It's just that he didn't want to buy me a popsicle. It's just that he didn't want to buy me ice cream. But that day it wasn't crying because he didn't want to buy me ice cream. It was a cry of terror, a desperate cry from the children. I opened the door. And it was a lady who was just passing by there from the school who had taken them. She saw them. She happened to see everything, how the whole thing went down. They took my son in front of all the children at the school, outside the school, in front of the teachers, the vendors, and everyone. So then the lady told me, she said, they took your son. I said, what do you mean they took him? Now it's for real? I didn't know why they took Charlie, and I didn't know why they took Jonathan either. Jonathan worked there at the house. He was a full-time father. And then the lady told me, well, she left them with me. She goes back suddenly. She comes back and gives me the backpacks. For that, a man sympathized with her. He saw them in the car and they went and brought them to me. And then he brought me the children's backpacks. And then, well, I was kind of in shock, trying to calm the children down. The oldest girl arrived badly beaten. They beat her and the others because the children were clinging to their dad. He told them not to let go, and at gunpoint, they took them away and put them in some trucks too. So, well, the first thing I did was call him to the director of the collective to tell her what had happened. I didn't know what to do with the first one, but the second one was much easier. Like they say, a path already walked. I then called the director and informed her about the situation. Immediately, the people from the prosecutor's office went out to look for them, to search the area and everything, and they already gave us the information. The lady had already given me the descriptions of the trucks they were taken in. She had already told me which one. They had put him in it because there were two, one of one color and the other of another, and in such and such color. They took him away. Here they are taking him. So I also called the director, and then I called his wife because he was one of the people who worked here. I called his wife and she told him, hey, I need you to come. Why? So they brought the kids from the school to me. What happened? Well, they took your husband, Jonathan. Can you believe it? And no, well, she says she didn't, that she just threw the broom because where she worked was cleaning offices and she just left. She already saw how the kids were. She already saw how they were all beaten up. One of my daughters arrived and took them to get help to the doctor. And well, we were filling out the missing person report at the search commission, and we were already filling out the report when suddenly it was from my cell phone. But then at that moment, a call came in on her cell phone and I answered. It was Jonathan. He asked, did they already take the kids? I replied, what happened? Are the kids okay? I said, well, they're here, but where are you? What happened? She's already there. I feel like they took the phone away from her. All who have heard about Jonathan's case say it's very strange. That it's very strange that after they take them, they let them make a phone call. The proof is with the first one with Charlie. Charlie never communicated after that, and Jonathan made a phone call. He asked about his children and if they were okay. They're here now. They're not really fine, but they're here. What happened to you? Up there? We didn't want to go and file a report because after we finished giving our information to the search commission, the same trucks we knew about showed up. They arrived at the property across the street and went into the property across the street. They beat the man, my husband, and forced him into the house at gunpoint. We also thought they were coming for us. We thought they were coming for my husband or something, so we went inside. It's a panic, a terror like you can't imagine, because we already knew which ones they had taken from my husband. And suddenly they arrive and take out the man from across the street right in front of us. He came out all beaten up, all covered in blood from how they had beaten him and everything, and then they left. So we said, and now what happened? That's how it ended up. And then we left. We went to my daughter's house to catch up with the kids who had been taken there. That's when the prosecutor's office called me. Ms. Lupita had provided them with all my information so they could contact me. I think I'm going to file the report, but I don't want to go. Where is she anyway? I just don't want to go. But why? Well, because this and this and this happened. It's just that you need to go, so please wait there. In order for me to finish my job, I need you to file the report. The prosecutor told us to wait for him in a place, and I'm telling you, it was around 2:30 in the afternoon. 2 hours had already passed. Relatively, he tells me that they had taken him away by the time the prosecutor caught up with us. When he caught up with us, he already had video of the time they took him, how they took him, and he showed it to us. I need you to go file the report. It's just that I'm scared because this and this happened and this and this. The same trucks arrived at the property across the street. They entered, took the man and everything out. They're the same trucks. It was also included in the investigation file. About Jonathan, for that, I'm going to go back a little bit. What I'm talking about is March 29th. On March 3rd, Jonathan was stopped by the police and he was really angry. Because, you know, like I said, he was dedicated to his kids, to his job, right there at home. And suddenly one day on March 3rd, he didn't come home. He didn't come home. And I called one of my daughters and I said, hey, did Jonathan not come home to sleep? Can you track him? Is she a firefighter? Can you track him? Does she know? People are being held in Tlayumul. And now, why? So should we go to Tlayumul? And we arrived at Tlajumulco, and the person who helped us said we went to Barandilla, where the delegation said, what do you mean? Go to the Tlajumulco prosecutor's office. And so we went. And ever since we arrived, I saw a lot of inconsistencies in his arrest. Because if there's one thing I have, it's that I have like eagle eyes, you know? And I was looking at the papers he had on his desk. I managed to see his name and I was reading. And the prosecutor told me that he had been arrested because he was driving a stolen car. The paper indicated it was a white pickup truck, contradicting his claim of it being a gray car. So, well, things just weren't clear to me. And he noticed, he asked if he was married. I said, yes, so you have no reason to be here. Why am I not his wife? But if he's married, his wife should be here, not you. She kicked me out, so we left. I told my daughter-in-law she had to go if he was there. And I was saying, but when? Did he go out to top up his phone? If she said they had? The prosecutor said they found him outside an OXXO, and on the report it said 7. So there were things that didn't add up, not the color, not the type, not the store, much less the time, neither. Because he had left around 8:30 at night, and according to that, they caught him outside the store around 12:30 in the morning. In the early morning, so to speak, that's how it was. They let him go, but for that, when she went to see him, they told her he had already been taken to the penitentiary. Why did they take him to the penitentiary? Well, because of the aggravated theft. But haven't the 72 hours passed that he has to be under investigation? And I told the gentleman, I said, who is the affected party? It's just that it's a young man, and on the paper it said it was a lady. I mean, since I was looking at things, there were things that didn't add up. Well, that's how it turned out. They left the next day, and they had already taken him to the penitentiary. They took him to the penitentiary, and they were about to hold a hearing for him in a real courtroom. And they let my daughter and her in, and they told them, turn off your cell phone, turn off your cell phone. You can't have your cell phone, you can't look at each other, you are only going to focus on the hearing. So she left there around 8 at night, but she left with an order to report every month to sign for precautionary measures. But when he got home, he angrily denied it. So I believed him because I was seeing other things in the written statement different from what they were telling me verbally, so I believed him. Is it not true? I didn't take anything. They didn't catch me. The patrol officers took me, and that's how it happened. This was on the 3rd, on the 29th when they took him, because we did end up filing the report that was recorded in the investigation file. And I already stated that on the 3rd, this and that happened, that there was a hearing. So among the copies they gave me after the report, the prosecutor told me this one is for you to take to precautionary measures. Because the paper you are showing me is a paper they gave me that they gave him, where he had to show up. It said that on the 1st of every month, he had to go sign in. And that's it. I went to take one to the police, to the forensic sciences department, where they always do the DNA tests. And that was for the psychological care. And I still had the precautionary measures left. I said, I'll go on the first day to find out, because he's not there. The prosecutor explained it to me and told me, so that they don't issue an arrest warrant for him, they need to know that if he doesn't show up to sign, he has a missing person file. Okay, I went personally to deliver the document they gave me in the investigation file, but they didn't want to accept it. Before that, I had checked the detention center online, and he was there. They ask you for a series of details. They ask for your personal email, all accurate information. You have to enter it there so they can give you the result. He was detained. He did attend a hearing in the oral courtroom. When I took the document to precautionary measures, they said, no, there's no investigation file here. But there is. I have it right here. Let me check. They couldn't find it. Listen, but I'm bringing you this precisely to prevent an arrest warrant from being issued. Look, I just received all these files. Let me check. Come on Monday. I went on Monday to bring them the document again, and they couldn't find it. I came back again on Wednesday. I continued that way for around 2 weeks, and absolutely not. I said to her, but why are you looking here if everything is supposed to be in the system? But I'd already checked that he was indeed detained. I even have the screenshots I took showing that he was detained on that date in that place. They didn't accept that because it showed that he had never been detained. It seems like they made up the charges against him. He was not legally detained. As we say, since he doesn't appear in the records, later we searched for him again, and he still didn't appear in the records. We searched again in precautionary measures. Because I was never able to hand in the paper, they never accepted it from me. Because I was never there, that was in March. Most difficult part of all, that's the children. And the call he made before he stopped communicating. From that point on, his wife had to start working full time. I'm a grandmother and a caregiver. It's really hard because I had them there, but I didn't really know them. Bathing them, helping with homework, taking them to school, taking them to therapy. Months would go by and the kids just didn't want to anymore. They said no because every time they went, the psychologist would change. It's just that they make me say the same thing, and it hurts a lot to have to keep saying the same thing every time I get a new psychologist. The youngest one, the 4-year-old, is someone who No, the boy's not expressive. He keeps everything inside. He got sick. They had to do surgery on his intestine because it got so inflamed. From the stress, from the worry, and they did surgery on him. The older one would see trucks similar to the ones that took her dad away. She even ended up wetting herself. On the street, the youngest would cling to me and say, "Here comes the truck that steals dads because they stole my dad." She would go to the temple and see him show himself, asking God for the bad people to return his faith. So time has been very, very painful, mainly because of them. Because they feel guilt, the greatest kind. She feels guilty for not being able to protect him because I let him go when he expressed wanting to die because she feels guilty. They are being treated by the psychiatrist, by the psychologist, by the psychiatrist. We take them to workshops. We have been taking care of them in that sense. And I am a searching mother, but now I only search for them from time to time.
Her son Jonathan was someone who dedicated himself to taking care of his family, and his only priority was to work to help them get ahead. There was no sign that he was involved in anything bad. But unlike the case of her other son, this time Mrs. Fabes unfortunately knew the procedure she had to follow, depending on your perspective, unfortunately. But the fear of having experienced up close what they did to her son was what held her back from continuing the search. The searching mothers are exposed to all kinds of dangers, as I mentioned earlier, from being threatened, deprived of their freedom, and some sadly even lose their lives. It's a long and hard road where they run the risk of disappearing themselves.
Your father is in the fight. Children, listen. Your father is in the fight. At that time, a note appears saying that they found me on a ranch and there were people detained. That was in September. There were people detained. And it's like, as a mother, or feel, there are things that you think about when your heart skips a beat. But, well, the note just said that they are in custody and we found their ranch. Months go by and nobody said anything. But it reappears. The note reappears. The note about the ranch where there were no detainees, but there were clues. Clues like clothes, a backpack, shoes, sneakers, pants, personal belongings. And my heart skipped a beat, just like the first time I found something in the kingdom. And we went where there was nothing left. I had to be there where they invited us, where they gave us the pass. To the collectives, searching mothers and press, so they could see music. We felt it was like a theater. Where people started to re-victimize us. Where they even told us that we wanted to harm the government, that it was all staged. But only those of us who were there, only those of us who have a missing child, do we know what it's about? Among the evidence, I was hoping to find something about my children because there are 2 of them. It's very strange. Jonathan's situation is strange, as he made a call and hasn't shown up since. And suddenly, among the things they started to show us, a backpack with the exact same characteristics as Charlie's backpack, where I put the electricity bill for the papers I was gathering, and it remained under investigation until now. They haven't let us see her for more than a month. They haven't let us see her in person. Because at that time, other federal authorities as well took over the case. They bring us here, whether she's at CAMECO, the prosecutor's office, or if they took her to Mexico. Suddenly, a report comes out saying it's not true. I hope that in that backpack that still needs to be checked, there are my son's papers, or at least the receipt that I put in there. from Jonathan. They definitely didn't find anything. They didn't find anything, nothing that was similar. That day I saw him leave and I know what clothes he was wearing and everything. Charlie too, I knew what clothes he was wearing and everything. We didn't see the clothes among the evidence, but we did see the backpack and no, just me. Many mothers also identified things belonging to their children. They haven't given us anything else. So, similar to the initial promise of calling with results, we remain in the same predicament. They haven't called us either. They haven't told us anything either. Be quiet. Don't say anything because it already happened. Verdict. So, well, now the situation is even worse. Somehow the hope of knowing he might be there. They gave us no hope regarding the DNA from the little bones as they were highly degraded and that it was very difficult for them that they could get anything out of them. Hoping that if they really do their job, maybe a hair will match my son's. The blankets were secured, the clothes were checked for evidence like fluids or hair or something, but so far from neither of them. As mentioned, Carlos, like many other young people, left for a job interview. About Carlos, well, at least the backpack indicates something. But about Jonathan, well, that call is what makes us doubt that he could be somewhere working, because that was around March, April, and May. A friend of his contacted his wife and told her that she hadn't wanted to say anything, so she wouldn't think badly. But we've been friends since elementary school, and what I'm going to ask him is what happened before they took him away. I talked to him. Oh, really? What did you say? And she showed him the conversation. And she told him that they had contacted him to install some cameras in a safe house. And that sometimes, no, I don't get involved in that. So we believe they took him because he refused to work. But well, up until now, also the uncertainty of whether yes or no. It seems that, according to investigations, Carlos's Facebook was active for a while after he was taken, and then it stopped being active. And about Jonathan? Definitely nothing. Starting with that arrest he had, which now doesn't show up in the records. We don't know what happened. And about the disappearance, well, he's missing. They're both missing. Charlie and I, we're going to ask how our cases are going. How's the file coming along? And they think that we're the ones who have to bring them the information, that we have to look for them and tell them. About Charlie's case, it made me really sad to find out that they had never looked for him. Because I went to ask for a copy of the investigation file and the only thing it had was the report. The order for the DNA test, the DNA result, and nothing else. And years had already passed when I had to go get a copy of the investigation file for some paperwork that I was planning to do. And I realized that they had never looked for him. That actually we looked for him. I looked for him. That actually I was the one who went looking for him in other states and in mass graves and in the fields. What we can ask of you is to look for them. We know there are many, so many, and that every day many more are added. This doesn't stop. I'm speaking to you clearly and simply about the work discovered on the ranch so far. There are still missing people who get contacted to go work for the well-paid jobs, a lot of them, and they don't ask for a degree or experience, and there are a lot of people don't believe those huge salaries they're offering you. Don't believe that over here everything is perfect or easy. They're just traps. In the case of my children, I start to think, and I think for myself, well, no, I say no. It seemed like my children were really smart, but they really got fooled. And that's how it happens to many others too. To many girls, young ladies, housewives. All the people who are of working age and who fall for those kinds of well-paid job ads. That's just the bait, the big salary. I'm going there because they don't require experience. And yeah, don't fall for those ads about well-paid jobs. Don't fall for TVO at the New Central on that side because they even get there. Don't fall for TVO at the airport because they even get there. There are also about 3 guys from Monterrey who arrived at the Guadalajara airport, and that's as far as they go. From wherever they can fall. People, that's as far as they go. That we as searching mothers don't wish anyone to be in our place. In my personal case, I never thought it would happen to me, much less that it would happen to me again. Don't re-victimize us. Don't think or judge. Don't say we knew what they were involved in. Charlie sought a better life for his family and Jonathan. He was looking for jobs to do so he could support his family. That was also what he was doing. Don't judge us. Don't yell at us. Show solidarity with us, because we never know when we might have to show solidarity with them. Because it happened to me just like this, and I never thought it would happen to me. The fear doesn't go away. I had said that they took away my fear, but they also took away my will to live. Sometimes I wake up and I don't want to wake up. There are days when I wake up feeling down, when I don't want to get up. My kids tell me that they are my batteries, and then they heard me say I didn't have any battery, but I was talking about my phone. I'm your battery. I will always be with you. And there are days when I don't want to wake up. Definitely. Life hurts, life changes you. I never imagined myself searching among pieces of human flesh and at the same time searching for a part of myself too. Because they took me along with them. I'm still afraid. I still want to die. That's how I feel. And there are days when I feel happy. Because by looking for them, we found many more that we've been able to return to their families as well. This gives me some satisfaction, but the question is about my own. To see the look on people's faces when we find their family. We saw them at such and such traffic light. We saw them in such and such place. We've gone back. Sometimes I wonder if life somehow put us in this situation, but it's very painful. It's very painful to look for them like this.
If you were part of any injustice and you would like your video or your case to be made public, you can send me an email at correo@pepemisterio.com.mx. You can reach me on Facebook as Pepe Misterio or on Instagram as Pepe Misterio Documentales or Pepe Misterio Mexico.